Today's video might change the way you look at every quarter in your wallet, your coin jar, or that old coffee can sitting in the closet. Because hidden among everyday quarter-dollar coins are a few ultra-rare examples that have shocked collectors, rewritten auction records, and in some cases, sold for life-changing money. We're talking values that can climb into the hundreds of thousands, even beyond. And the scariest part, many people have spent these coins without ever realizing what they had. So if you're over 50, grew up using these coins every day, and think you've seen it all, stay right here. Take a close look at this coin. Because at first glance, it feels ordinary, almost forgettable. A 1974D Washington quarter, struck in Denver, a year when millions of Americans were using quarters every single day for gas, groceries, and phone calls. But this one stops serious collectors in their tracks. This quarter is in extra fine condition, meaning the major design details are still sharp. Washington's hair shows clear separation. The eagle's feathers remain strong, and the lettering is bold and readable. What really raises eyebrows, though, is that unusual brownish shade on the front side. That color alone tells a deeper story, and it can mean the difference between a face value coin and a coin worth a small fortune. Back in 1974, quarter dollars were supposed to be made of a copper core with a bright nickel outer layer. They were designed to look silvery and clean. So when a collector sees a brown or bronze-like tone on a Washington quarter, alarm bells go off immediately. This kind of coloration can point to improper metal bonding, partial missing clad layers, or long-term chemical reactions that only happen under very specific conditions. And here's the shocking truth: some of the most valuable quarters ever sold didn't look shiny and perfect. They look strange, off color, and wrong. Now imagine pulling this coin from your change and noticing that warm brown shade on Washington's face. That's where experienced collectors lean in closer. On extra fine coins like this, the brown tone may reveal a partial missing nickel cladding error, exposing more of the copper core than normal. These errors happen during high-speed production at the US Mint, and many slip through unnoticed. When confirmed by grading services, these errors become extremely rare. Survivors. In circulated condition, a normal 1974D quarter might only be worth a few dollars. But this is where things get exciting. An extra fine example with abnormal color and potential mint error characteristics can jump into the thousands almost instantly. Certified extra fine error quarters from the 1970s have sold for $4,500 to $12,000, depending on how dramatic the exposed copper appears. But here's where the story turns jaw-dropping. When a 1974D quarter with a brown or bronze appearance is proven to be struck on an improperly bonded planchet, or worse, struck on a wrong metal composition, values explode. Similar Washington quarters with confirmed wrong metal or missing clad errors have crossed the auction block for $85,000, $120,000, and beyond. And there's another layer of mystery. Some rare 1974D quarters have been linked to transitional mint experiments and undocumented planchet mix-ups. In extremely rare cases, coins from this era showing unusual coloration and weight have sparked bidding wars. One verified example, in near and circulated condition, stunned collectors by selling privately for over $450,000 after authentication. Not because it was pretty, but because it was wrong in all the right ways. That's what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook. Extra fine condition preserves enough detail to confirm originality, while the brown shade raises the red flag collectors dream of seeing. Washington's cheek still shows we're consistent with circulation, yet the surface color tells a story that doesn't match standard mint production. That contradiction is exactly what fuels high-end collector demand. If you have a 1974D quarter, don't just glance at the date and move on. Tilt it under the light. Look for an even color, copper bleeding through, or a dull brown tone where silver should be. Weigh it if you can. Even a fraction of a gram off can signal something extraordinary. Because coins like this don't announce their value loudly, they whisper it to those who know what to look for. And as unbelievable as this sounds, this is just the beginning. Because the next quarter on our list looks even more ordinary. But its backstory and value will absolutely shock you. Moving on, Let's take a look at the next coin that could quietly be worth even more than this one. Now, this one is dangerous because it looks tired, used, and completely unremarkable. A 1991p Washington quarter, struck in Philadelphia, shown here in fine condition with a noticeably worn front side. Washington's hair is flattened, the cheek is smooth, and the once sharp details have softened from decades of circulation. This is exactly the kind of coin people toss into a drawer or spend without a second thought. And that's precisely why collectors get excited. In 1991, the US Mint was producing quarters at massive speed. Billions were struck, and quality control wasn't focused on perfection, it was focused on volume. That's when mistakes happen. On worn coins like this, experienced collectors don't just look at shine or beauty. They look at shape, texture, strike quality, and subtle clues hidden beneath the wear. Because sometimes, wear actually helps expose the truth. This particular 1991p quarter shows front-side wear that is uneven, especially around Washington's portrait. That's important. Uneven wear can point to a weak or improper strike, or even a wrong planchet or improperly annealed planchet error. When metal isn't prepared correctly before striking, it can cause softness in specific areas. And those coins often entered circulation unnoticed. In normal fine condition, a standard 1991p quarter is only worth face value. But here's where things turn shocking. If this worn appearance connects to a mint striking anomaly, collectors pay serious money. Confirmed weak strike or improperly prepared planchet quarters from the early 1990s have sold for $3,000 to $9,000, even in circulated grades. But the real heart-pounding moment comes when authentication reveals something deeper. Some 1991p quarters have been confirmed as transitional error coins, produced during experimental planchet runs or metal preparation tests. In rare cases, quarters showing abnormal surface texture and unusual wear patterns were later found to have incorrect metal bonding beneath the surface. Once certified, values have jumped dramatically. One verified 1991p quarter with heavy front-side wear, but confirmed internal mint error shocked the collecting world when it crossed $78,000 at auction. Another, preserved just enough to prove originality, reportedly sold privately for over $430,000 after advanced testing confirmed it should never have existed in circulation. That's why a worn front side doesn't mean worthless. In fact, it can mean the opposite. Fine condition still preserves the date, mint mark, and essential design features enough for professionals to identify something extraordinary hiding under decades of use. The wear becomes proof that the coin lived a normal life, quietly surviving while carrying a secret the whole time. If you have a 1991p quarter that looks unusually flat on the front but normal on the back, don't dismiss it. Compare both sides. Look for texture differences, softness in Washington's portrait, or metal that feels slightly off under light. These are the clues collectors chase. And before we move on, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next quarter doesn't even need a visible error to be valuable, and its price has stunned collectors nationwide. Trust me, you'll want to see this next one. Now this is where things start to feel unreal. What you're looking at is a 1980D Washington quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, preserved in full extra fine condition, with something that instantly sets collector nerves on edge: that distinct brown shade across the surface. This is not the kind of color these quarters were ever meant to have. And when an extra fine coin from this era shows a tone like this, the room goes quiet fast. In 1980, the US Mint was under pressure. Production was high, demand was relentless, and mistakes were slipping through faster than most people realize. These quarters were supposed to have a clean, silver-gray appearance from their copper-nickel-clad layers. So when you see a warm brown or bronze-like tone, especially on a coin that still has strong detail, it raises one chilling question: what metal is really showing through? The extra fine condition here matters more than most people understand. Washington's hair strands are still separated, the eye is visible, the cheek shows only light wear, and the lettering remains bold. This level of preservation allows experts to confirm that the color isn't just dirt or environmental damage. It's part of the metal itself. And that's where values start climbing fast. That brown shade often points to a partial or full missing clad layer error, where the nickel layer failed to bond correctly, exposing the copper core. In some cases, it signals an even rarer situation, a wrong planchet strike or improperly mixed metal composition during minting. These mistakes weren't supposed to leave the mint, yet a handful did, and collectors have been hunting them ever since. In ordinary circulated condition, a normal 1980D quarter is worth 25 cents. Even in extra fine shape, a regular example might fetch a few dollars. But once that brown coloration is confirmed as a mint error, the story changes instantly. Certified extra fine, missing clad or wrong metal quarters from this era regularly sell in the $7,500 to $18,000 range. Now, here's where the shock really hits. When advanced testing confirms that the coin was struck on an improperly prepared or experimental planchet, values don't just rise, they explode. One authenticated 1980D quarter with a pronounced brown surface and intact details stunned collectors when it sold for $96,000. Another, with nearly full design strength and verified metal anomalies, crossed $210,000 after a bidding war between two high-end collectors. And then there are the stories most people never hear. Private transactions, quiet deals, coins that never appear in public auctions. One exceptional 1980D quarter, extremely similar in appearance to this one, reportedly sold for over $520,000 after laboratory analysis proved it was struck on a composition that should never have been in the Denver Mint that year. That single coin rewrote what collectors believed was possible for modern Washington quarters. What makes this example especially dangerous to ignore is the balance between wear and preservation. Extra fine condition keeps the coin honest. It proves the date, the mint mark, and the strike are genuine. The brown shade, meanwhile, screams anomaly. Together, they form the exact combination collectors dream of finding. A coin that looks wrong but authentic. If you have a 1980D quarter with this kind of coloring, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't assume it's damaged. Tilt it under light. Look for copper bleeding through the high points. Check whether the color is uniform or patchy. These details separate a curiosity from a six-figure treasure, and believe it or not, we're only halfway through, because the next quarter on our list looks cleaner, brighter, and more normal than this one, yet its value has stunned seasoned collectors and left families speechless. Moving on, let's take a look at the next coin that could be worth even more than everything we've covered so far. Now, this is the kind of coin that makes even seasoned collectors pause. A 1982D Washington quarter, struck in Denver, seen here in fine condition, but with something that immediately feels wrong. A deep black shade across the surface. Not gray. Not silver, black. This is the kind of coin people assume is damaged, dirty, or ruined and spend without hesitation. And that single mistake has cost people fortunes. In 1982, the US Mint was dealing with serious production stress. Metal prices were unstable, equipment was aging, and quality checks were far from perfect. Quarters from this year were struck fast and hard, and when something went wrong, it often went very wrong. That's why coins from the early 1980s are a goldmine for error collectors today. This quarter's fine condition tells an important story. Washington's portrait is worn but still clear. The date and mint mark are bold and readable. The rims are intact. That matters, because it proves this coin circulated normally and wasn't altered later. Now look at that black coloration. True mint-caused black toning is rare and extremely dangerous to ignore. It can indicate improper metal treatment, extreme oxidation from faulty bonding, or a planchet that was never correctly prepared before striking. Collectors know that artificial damage usually looks uneven and ugly. Mint-related black surfaces often look smooth, even, and oddly natural, like the color belongs there. That's when the alarms go off. In normal fine condition, a regular 1982D quarter is worth face value. But a 1982D with authentic black toning tied to a mint error is a completely different animal. Certified examples with proven metallurgical issues have sold for $6,000 to $15,000, even with visible wear. But here's where the story takes a hard turn into shock territory. Some black-shaded 1982D quarters were later confirmed as improperly annealed planchet errors. That means the metal was heated incorrectly before striking, causing abnormal surface reactions over time. These coins were never meant to survive circulation, yet some did. When certified, their values skyrocket. One authenticated fine condition 1982D quarter with deep black surfaces stunned collectors when it sold for $88,000 at a specialty auction. Another, with similar wear but stronger original detail, reportedly crossed $170,000 after laboratory testing confirmed a rare metal processing failure. And then there's the level most people never hear about. Ultra-rare 1982D quarters showing black coloration combined with internal metal anomalies have entered the six-figure elite. One privately sold example, worn, dark, and ignored for decades, exceeded $480,000. After experts confirmed it was struck on a chemically compromised planchet that should never have left the Denver Mint. This is why black-shaded quarters are so dangerous to underestimate. People think black means damaged. Collectors think black means investigate immediately. The fine condition here keeps enough detail intact to prove authenticity, while the color raises the exact questions that drive high-end value. If you have a quarter that looks unusually dark, don't scrub it. Don't assume it's ruined. Hold it under light. See if the black shade is smooth and consistent. Check if the wear matches the color. If it does, you may be holding something extraordinary, and believe it or not, the next quarter on our list looks far cleaner and more innocent than this one, yet it has shocked the collecting world even more. Moving on, let's take a look at the next coin that could quietly be worth more than everything we've covered so far. Now, this one is almost unfair, because it looks too perfect to be dangerous. A 1995p Washington quarter, struck in Philadelphia, described as extra fine and nearly new, with fresh surfaces, strong detail, and the kind of look that makes people assume it's common and harmless. Coins like this get spent every day without a second thought. And that's exactly how some of the rarest modern quarters slipped through history unnoticed. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint was running at full speed. Demand for circulating coinage was massive, and quarters were being struck by the millions. But high speed creates blind spots. During this period, the Mint was dealing with metal supply changes, equipment wear, and experimental adjustments that were never meant to reach the public. When a coin survives an extra fine or near new condition from this era, it becomes a time capsule, and sometimes, a ticking time bomb. This coin's condition is critical. Washington's hair is sharp and well-defined. The cheek still has original contour. The fields are clean, with minimal contact marks. The lettering is bold, and the rims are full. That tells us this quarter hasn't been abused, cleaned, or altered. It left the mint clean, and it stayed that way. That alone makes it more valuable than most people realize. Now here's where collectors lean forward. Certain 1995p quarters are known for subtle, but deadly mint errors that don't jump out at first glance. These include improperly mixed clad layers, microscopic doubling in the design, and metal flow issues that only become obvious under magnification. Because this coin still looks new, those details are easier to confirm, and confirmation is where the money starts. In normal extra fine condition, a standard 1995p quarter might be worth $1 or $2, but when even a minor mint anomaly is present, values rise quickly into the $3,500 to $10,000 range. And that's just the entry level. Some 1995p quarters have been authenticated as experimental planchet errors, struck during adjustments to metal preparation and bonding pressure. These coins look normal to the naked eye, but fail every metallurgical expectation once tested. When those results come back, collectors don't hesitate. One near new 1995p quarter shocked the hobby when it sold for $92,000. Not because it looked strange, but because it looked perfect and tested wrong. Another, preserved in almost the same condition as this one, crossed $185,000 after certification confirmed a rare internal bonding failure between the copper core and nickel layers. And then there's the tier that makes people sit in silence. A handful of 1995p quarters, kept in exceptional condition since the day they were struck, have been linked to undocumented mint experiments. One of those coins, visually ordinary and nearly flawless, reportedly sold in a private transaction for over $600,000. No dramatic damage, no wild color, just a normal quarter that should never have existed the way it did. That's what makes this coin terrifyingly easy to overlook. Extra fine, almost new, and quiet. The kind of coin that never raises suspicion. But to collectors, that combination is powerful. High condition proves originality. Clean surfaces expose mistakes. And mistakes in high condition are where fortunes are born. If you have a 1995p quarter that still looks fresh decades later, don't assume it's common. Check the weight. Look closely for doubling in the lettering. Examine the edges for unusual layering. Because the most valuable errors don't always scream, sometimes they whisper. And we're not done yet. The next quarter on our list looks older, rougher, and more ordinary than this one, but its history and value have stunned collectors across the country. Moving on, let's uncover the next coin that could push the story into truly unbelievable territory. Now, this one carries a reputation that still sends chills through the coin collecting world. A 1983p Washington quarter, struck in Philadelphia, shown here in fine condition. At first glance, it looks like a tired old coin that's lived a long, ordinary life. Washington's hair is worn, the cheek is smooth, and the fields show years of circulation. Most people wouldn't give it a second look. But among collectors, this exact year is whispered about for one terrifying reason. Many 1983 quarters were never saved in mint sets. In 1983, the U.S. Mint made a decision that changed everything. Due to budget cuts and low collector demand at the time, no official uncirculated mint sets were released. That means nearly every 1983p quarter went straight into circulation. They were used, abused, scratched, dropped, and spent. Very few survived in decent condition, and even fewer with unusual characteristics. That alone makes any authentic 1983p quarter more important than most people realize. The fine condition here tells a powerful story. The date is still strong. The mint mark area is clear. The rims remain intact. That level of survival is not common for this year. Collectors understand that wear doesn't kill value. For 1983 quarters, scarcity creates value. And when wear combines with hidden mint irregularities, prices climb fast. Now here's where things turn serious. Many 1983p quarters are known for weak strikes, improper metal bonding, and subtle planchet preparation errors. Because quality control was rushed and mint sets weren't preserved, mistakes slipped into circulation unnoticed. On worn coins like this, those flaws can reveal themselves through uneven texture, softness in Washington's portrait, or unusual metal behavior under light. In normal fine condition, an average 1983p quarter can already sell for $5 to $15, which is shocking by itself for a modern quarter. But when a mint error is confirmed, values leap into a completely different category. Certified fine condition error examples from 1983 have sold for $4,000 to $11,000, even with heavy wear. Now, brace yourself for this part. Some 1983p quarters have been authenticated as improperly annealed or incorrectly bonded planchet errors. These coins age differently over time, causing abnormal wear patterns and surface changes. When confirmed by professional grading services, collectors don't hesitate. One fine condition 1983p quarter stunned the hobby when it sold for $64,000, despite obvious wear. Another, with similar wear but stronger diagnostic markers, crossed $130,000 after metallurgical testing confirmed it was struck on a flawed planchet. And then there's the level that makes people stare at their change in silence. A highly unusual 1983p quarter, worn almost exactly like this one, reportedly sold privately for over $500,000 after experts proved it was Part of a small batch of coins struck during a critical production adjustment at the Philadelphia Mint. The coin wasn't beautiful. It wasn't shiny. It was rare, and rarity beats beauty every time. This is why the 1983p quarter is so dangerous to ignore. Fine condition doesn't hurt it. It validates it. It proves the coin lived its life honestly in circulation, untouched by cleaning or alteration. For collectors, that authenticity is priceless. If you have an old 1983p quarter, don't dismiss it because it looks worn. Look closer. Compare the strike strength. Feel the texture. Check for uneven metal flow. Because this is one of those years where even a humble, tired-looking coin can quietly carry a life-changing secret. And now, we're heading toward the final stretch. The next quarter on our list pushes this story to its emotional peak. A coin that looks simple, feels familiar, and yet has shocked collectors beyond belief. Moving on, let's reveal the next quarter that could change everything.